All right. So, welcome everybody to Hyperbaric Plus. That's Hyperbaric dot plus if you're looking for us on the internet. But today, Keith is taking care of his wife. She had a little procedure and she's rebounding real nicely. But he said, "Hey, I'm going to take a week off to take care of her." So, we wish Keith's wife all the quick recovery we can send her way. And anyway, today, kind of in the last, I think you started like in December,
Yeah,
something like
first part
that.
of December.
So Tony came to me, and Tony had been fighting Lyme disease for a long time. He's going to give a little bit of his story, but it's a crazy how God opens doors, slams doors. You have to pay attention to what's in front of you, and really a neat story. We're gonna let him lead into it, and just give us a little bit of how did you find us, and then we'll get into your background. So, how did you find us?
Yeah, I'm part of a Tuesday at 2 networking group with Brad Dean and Reconnect nonprofit. I told Brad I was struggling with Lyme disease, and he said, "We got something for that. You have to call Paul." So,
We, meaning Brad's on the board of Hyperbarics for Heroes, and he's been diving with us now for about 6, 7 years, probably.
you know, so I was very grateful. Brad introduced me to Paul. When I first walked in here to Paul, I felt like I was in a zombie state. Really, just brain wasn't working, body wasn't working. Felt like I had trouble communicating. I really just had trouble doing anything. So I was just grateful to have somebody that had something to help with Lyme disease because it can be so difficult.
You had done everything. I think you said, Paul, I don't know what else to do. I've done everything. So I'm here. Brad said to come here. I don't know anything about it, and let's just get started. So it's kind of
Yeah.
where we started.
Yeah, and just to hear that they had answers and had a protocol to help people here at Hyperbarics Plus was just, it just felt great to even have somebody that had something else we could try. Because I tried so many different things.
That didn't say there's not Lyme in Oklahoma.
Exactly, I've heard that before. There's not Lyme in a lot of places if you listen to the wrong people.
That's all my clients say, that there's no Lyme in Oklahoma is all their mainstream medical providers could tell them.
Yeah.
So go ahead. So really what started when you came, you had been an entrepreneur. You've been in the cannabis industry. You had been a health coach. All these things somewhat related to what we're doing here. And where you were speaking nationally on lectures and doing things in all those spaces, you couldn't do that anymore.
No.
And you had, if I understand right, you had come down to where you were driving for Uber, and that was becoming difficult. And so the mental part, neurological Lyme is a real deal. You were experiencing it, and kind of give us an idea of what happened, where you started. And I know there was an epiphany, a change in direction that was very astute. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, really, you have to go back about 15 years to the time I was age 39. At that time, I was a picture of perfect health, never had a health problem my entire life. In fact, I was in the middle of a 100K training ride, preparing for a Ragbri ride across Iowa. It's about a 400-mile ride. And during this 100K ride in New York, I got hit by a car on my bicycle. And it really just caused my whole body to start going haywire. So for a number of years, I just thought all the symptoms I was having related to that. But as many Lyme patients know, there's usually a traumatic event or a major stressor in life that causes all those symptoms to flare up when disease or illness starts to take over. So my whole body and brain was just going haywire for the last 15 years, and it was a trajectory where just every year it got worse and worse and worse.
Yep. So when, I guess 6 years ago, you said that you went along the first 9 years, and then you started 6 years ago, it really kind of accelerated.
Yeah. I would say the first about 6, 7 years, it was just symptoms popping up nonstop. The last 7 years, it got to the point where the symptoms were chronic, and I could no longer function when I had these flare-ups.
So who identified the Lyme?
Yeah, I'm very grateful for Dr. Dory Abbott. She's part of Prairie Hills in Tulsa. She did an AO scan, which is a full-body scan that essentially looks for breaks in the DNA, and those breaks communicate something. So after a number of years of trying to go mainstream medical, trying their pills, despite them always saying my labs look great, I went to Dory and found out about root causes, and she was able to talk to me about pathogens. And it was amazing because the first 25 pages of a report, which were physical health, brain health, all these number of different things, they all looked great. I was in great physical health.
As per mainstream medical as well. That's
Yep. Yep. And she started talking about root causes, and the last few pages of her report were pathogens, and that's where I just lit up. So Lyme disease is a bacteria, it's a pathogen. I lit up on Lyme disease, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, Epstein-Barr virus, and then a number of different parasites. So she was the first one to be able to say, here's your symptoms, and here's the root cause of those symptoms, and give me a different way to attack my health journey.
So what did you start doing right off the bat? Because now we're talking how many years ago?
Yeah, that was about 7 years ago
Yeah.
when I first got answers that made sense. And we started with a number of different things that Dory does. The first thing is a parasite cleanse. It's interesting that most countries, 2 or 3 times a year, they'll tell you, doctors will tell you to do a parasite and dewormer. In the United States, doctors like to say we don't have that problem, which makes no sense at all. And my body was riddled with parasites, and it's actually fairly easy to get rid of, but that's the first step, is you want to start eliminating parasites, heavy metals, before you even attack the Lyme. So I was learning all of this, and it was a lot of trial and error as I went through there.
So I got a lot of our clients that have Lyme. They come, they test. They actually, what you did is called bioresonance, and it really is based on the Rife machine. Dr. Royal Rife, back in the 30s, he spent his whole career identifying the frequency that different pathogens vibrate or become known in the body. And just by doing a quick it's frequency medicine, but by putting on the earphones that are bone, they rattle your bone right here. You've got those on, and what that vibration does is it lights up everything in your body so it can identify what is in your body. And that's Royal Rife identified all these different pathogens and the frequencies that they are attuned to. And that's how all this showed up, was by doing the AO scan. Yep. We used to do the AO scan a long time ago, and Twyla Wilson, Dr. Wilson was with us, and instead of both of us doing it, I sold my AO scan, and I sent everybody to Twyla, and she did that base scan for us. And so anyway, I'm quite familiar with that technology, and after hearing your story and knowing where we're headed as we'll get into this, I think that's something that we're going to reintroduce to my clients. But so
the one thing I would say about that, Paul, is a lot of people think it sounds woo-woo or way out there, but our body is made up of over 500,000 different frequencies. Mm-hmm. All living matter is made up of frequencies. So it's fascinating to me to look at root causes from a frequency perspective. When you actually dive into it, it completely makes sense, but it's not something, most medical providers even consider.
So what were those symptoms? I mean, just kind of give us some symptoms.
So the interesting thing about Lyme disease is there's over 100 different symptoms that were common. And when I looked at the tracker the last time, I had 95% of them. Neuro-Lyme. Lyme typically affects you in 2 different ways, either in your body physically.
Lyme arthritis.
Which is Lyme arthritis, or multiple sclerosis is a common misdiagnosis of Lyme disease. On the other side, it commonly affects cognitive abilities, which is often diagnosed as Alzheimer's or dementia. So for me, I dealt with more of the neurological issues. Basically, going even farther back, I was bit by a tick when I was 12 years here in Oklahoma, and it was right here on top of my head. And interesting enough, that was the epicenter of my symptoms. And so I constantly had numbness, tingling, burning, all trickling from my brain down into my face. But the reality is, Paul knows this, when I walked in here, I couldn't even have a conversation with him. I was just kind of like this, and I had trouble hearing, listening, following people's thoughts. I couldn't communicate. If I was talking to you guys back then, it would have been something more like this. And obviously, coming from a background of public speaking and health coaching, I love to engage with people and talk to people. And one thing I can say is that's all come back. So I'm so grateful for that. But everything from brain health, brain not functioning, dementia symptoms, to fatigue is the biggest thing. There was, over the last 3 years, I spent over 50% of the time just being in a bedridden state where I couldn't function. I couldn't get up and feed my dog. I couldn't get up and cook. just some normal basic things that are part of life, I could not function.
So as you started rebounding and you were still seeing mainstream medical, what was that conversation like? Because now you've got an idea of what's going on, and you're going back to the doctor saying, "Doc, I'm learning stuff. I'm identifying things that I think may be a problem." So what did you get out of your doctor when that was going on?
It's a great question, and that was one of the most challenging parts. When I got in the accident, I went to a doctor, I went to a chiropractor. They gave me pain pills. I did everything they said to do for about a year. And I never abused the pain pills, but I could feel that chemical dependence on those. So about a year into that journey, I decided to give cannabis oil a try. And I was like, I think I can replace these pills with something natural and address the pain. And I got so much more relief and improvement. In fact, it not only helped my pain, it helped my gut health issues, it helped my brain fog. So I was so impressed with cannabis oil. But then fast forward a couple years after that, I really started having depression and anxiety symptoms, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. So I went to the doctor. Every time I went to the doctor, they said, "Oh, your labs look good." In fact, most of them look great. It's because I was in, incredible physical health by their standards. But they always said, "Your labs look great, but here, try these pills." And all they knew how to do was give me pills after about a 5-minute visit. So I took the pills for about 2 or 3 years, and honestly, I saw some improvement, but it was like a roller coaster. I'd see a little bit of improvement with the pills, and I'd go downhill, and I'd be like, this is not helping me, or I would not be having these flare-ups. I would, if the pills were working, I would have consistently improved, and I didn't. There was an up and down journey. So ultimately what happened, Paul, the answer to your question is, after about 2 or 3 years of trying all these different pills and even mental health medications, I came to the realization that those doctors were not helping me. They were just throwing things at me. They were, shooting from the hip, throwing pills at me. And I basically just came to the conclusion that I wanted to go natural. And if the doctors couldn't give me any answers in their lab test, then I no longer wanted to take their pills. And that was a tough journey to get off those pills. But I've got 7, 8 years now where I'm 100% natural. I no longer take Tums, Pepcid. I used to depend on those. I no longer take aspirin or Excedrin. I used to depend on those. In addition to all the different pharmaceuticals that I said, I'm done with this. I am going completely natural, holistic. And it was the best decision, tough decision, but best decision I ever made.
So where, you've been on this journey, and now you're doing all these natural things, weaning yourself off of mainstream medical. And by the way, we're not doctors. We're trying to identify, and that's a disclaimer. We're not doctors. We're not trying to give medical advice. We're just telling Tony's story. And so this is designed to make you ask questions to your providers. What if, these guys, this is what happened. Can I go down that path? And you want their support. You want them to follow you on that path and manage your recovery. Absolutely. And that's why we do this, is to try to get people to ask their doctor. If you don't get the answers, if you can't get there, we have natural paths that we've surrounded ourselves with that can help answer those questions and get you on a different path that's non-medicine to some level. I mean, I've got a lot of my Lyme clients in here that are still taking pretty substantial amounts of antibiotics, like 3 antibiotics at a time for extended periods. We're hoping to find a different path for them as well. We're all learning, and we're all finding some, the gentleman up in Wyoming that we're working with, we've got a connection to Native American herbs, Native American medicine.
Right.
And not only the herbs that work, but what's being lost in that world is, how do you prepare those? Is it a tincture? Is it a tea? Is it getting in a, back in the day, they got in a teepee, and it was the heat that they were creating in this teepee that was like a sauna, that all of my Lyme clients, they kill that bacteria and they get in a sauna to sweat it out, because the important thing is getting it out of your system as quickly as possible. So it's one thing to kill it, but you got to get it out of your system. And man, some of the stories in here we're doing a dive that is kind of, I'll get into it if somebody wants to come and learn what we're doing with Lyme. But we've had tremendous stories of die-off after doing our deep dives, and it's so important to be set up for it. You don't even want to do a deep dive until you're set up to get that out of your system. Your lymph system has to be working. It all has to be open. You really want to start on that before you get in here and start killing stuff, because if you can't get it out of your body, then that's not good either. So getting the lymph system working, our skin is our biggest organ. To get it to open up and sweat it out. The saunas, the infrared saunas. I got a lot of people that are doing cancer, they're dealing with cancer, and they want to do everything they can to get those toxins out of their body, because that's probably what started the cancer. So as they kill things in the chamber with pressure, and those pathogens are now dead and need to be exiting the body, there's a process, and we've surrounded ourselves with those kinds of doctors that understand the process, and we're just having really. So I want to move into what you found with some of our friends that are in these different industries.
A couple things I would say about that real quick, though, Paul, is I agree. We certainly don't want to even leave the impression we're giving medical advice here. Western medicine and the doctors did not serve me well, but yet I still realize they serve an important, necessary process in the medical community here. But the reality is they know so very little about what you just said when it comes to detoxing, gut health, antibiotics, ruining our gut health, nutritional support. There's a ton of holistic options out here to us, but unfortunately, I think the medical school has failed our doctors. They don't study that at all. And if you look at what happens in other countries like Sweden and Norway and that region, they detox daily in sauna, and they have very little cases of dementia and Alzheimer's. So we can look at other countries and see these models and these holistic therapies and how much it benefits them. But the one thing that I would say that kind of ties all that together, Paul, is at first I was kind of leery to tell my story, but as I began to share my story, not in hopes to give people medical advice, but to tell them what I'm dealing with, I found so many people that were struggling with the same issues, and my story resonated with them, and so many people have gone down the same path that I followed, and they've gotten similar results. So overall, what I would say, I am so very grateful for the community that you have here, Paul, Hyperbarics Plus, because one of the first times that I really felt a major impact was on our first Lyme deep dive, and it was just a beautiful thing to be surrounded by people who speak the same language and who get it and have been there, done that. Because previous to that, I had nobody locally to even talk to. When I first started addressing Lyme, nobody even knew anything about it. So to have this community here at Hyperbarics Plus that shares in these same experiences, we speak the same language, we're all educating each other. It's just been an incredible, system of support that I was missing. So I feel like I found my tribe, and I'm so thankful for everybody here at Hyperbarics Plus.
And there is no HIPAA spoken here. I mean, if you don't want to share what you're dealing with, then keep your mouth shut.
Yep.
If you come in and you say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with, you're going to get a tremendous amount of advice from people that have been there, done that.
Yep.
And so I think HIPAA, at some level, I think it was designed so that we didn't talk about things that work for us. When people first come in here and I say, we don't do HIPAA, so if you don't want to share something, that's up to you. You don't share it. And we have a rule in the chamber. If there's things shared in the chamber, it stays in the chamber. We don't share those things unless we have permission to share. But everybody's journey around here is helping the next person, and that's so huge. Really so all that being said, one of my clients came in. You had done about 10 or 12 sessions, and then you did 2 deep dives.
That's right.
And the deep dives, what happened to you?
Yeah, talking about detox and what we call herxing, which is just simply our body reacting to trying to flush out the toxins that we eliminate in our body. It hit me in a major way. I told Paul, I was like, I'm sleeping better, but I'm sleeping a lot. I don't quite feel the fatigue, but I'm sleeping all the time. And Paul was like, sleeping is detox, that's good. And I was like, I hope you're right. I never thought about it. But after that deep dive, I went home and slept for about 2 weeks. I didn't quite feel bedridden or fatigued like I had felt the month before. I felt like I was actually getting some restful, peaceful sleep, but it was like my body just could not sleep enough. And after about 2.5 weeks, it started to slowly improve, and I just knew I needed to get back in the hyperbarics.
Yeah, I mean, he was
Hyperbaric
coming in
chamber.
daily, and then all of a sudden he vanished, and I thought, well, I don't know what I didn't call, I didn't bother you. I mean, everybody's on their own journey. If you'd had a question, you'd have called me. But then you showed back up, and it was about the time we started working with Jesse in peptides.
That's right.
And I said, have you ever thought about peptides? And I never really put the two together, but you were, I mean, obviously you've done everything.
Yep.
And I said, man, peptides is really foundational to your body. If you can get your peptide levels correct, then your body can start regenerating.
Right.
So I said, why don't you talk to Jesse? Tell us what happened after you talked to
Yeah,
Jesse.
so I had researched peptides about 3 years ago, and the costs were just astronomical. I couldn't even consider it, but I truly believe that, you know, our body's meant to produce peptides, and I love that with peptides we can help our body do something it's designed to do naturally. So when I was doing hyperbarics, I kind of felt like it was just slowly moving the needle, and I was slowly improving, just kind of at a trajectory like this. What happened was, as soon as I introduced peptides, I could feel the benefit of hyperbarics more. And over the next 30 days, the synergistic effect of hyperbarics and those peptides together was unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. The reality is, for the last 2 months, I've been flare-up free. I've been mostly symptom free. When I have mild symptoms, I come in here and jump in the chamber. I address it with peptides. And the reality is I've had almost 0 symptoms over the last 2 months. So I would say that when it comes to fatigue and neurological issues and dementia, which were my 3 primary symptoms, the synergistic effect and my healing journey that I've personally gone through with my body and brain has been unlike anything I've ever experienced. And I believe I'm in complete remission, and my body is now strong enough where I can actually start better attacking that Lyme bacteria and all the other pathogens to completely remove them from my body. But when it comes to holistic and synergistic effect, I believe that's one of the things that we have been brainwashed about. We've been brainwashed into believing, here, take this pill and it'll solve your problems. Oh, that didn't solve it? Let's take a second pill, third pill. You know, I was on 5 different mental health pills at one point, and it kind of slowly moved the needle, but then I got worse. The synergistic effect of hyperbarics and peptides has been absolutely amazing for my personal healing journey.
So what is, to kind of go to the next level on that, during this whole your accelerated recovery, we lost a good friend, Twyla, Dr. Wilson. And so you're hearing the scuttlebutt in the chamber, you know, what are we going to do now? Twyla was, I actually think at some level it was a godsend. She had been dealing with lymphoma for a long time, a couple of years, and she had just got, so we got the new brain mapping, New Mind, and we were getting ready to transfer all of her brain mapping over to our new system. And so we were really working hard to get that done. And the Monday that she had a Zoom meeting with New Mind, that Monday, right before her meeting started, she got notice from her oncologist that her cancer had spread. And I mean, I was in the chamber and I just saw her, she didn't run, but she was walking really fast, and she left to go get a handle on processing what she just heard when she thought she was on her way to recovery. I mean, I didn't even pursue all this until I knew her health would be able to manage it. So I backed off, and then all of a sudden, I mean, she was doing really well. And then she got that crazy call, and that was on a Monday, and on Thursday she collapsed, taking her garbage out to the road. And then she never recovered from that. So you're hearing all this in the chamber and your background and what we're talking about, and because you got a psychology degree at UCO and you've got a lot of understanding of off-label therapies, I guess, health coach, nutrition, you know, all the things they just don't teach our doctors. They don't teach them nutrition.
Right.
So you've got all this background, and we start talking, and you said, hey, Paul, I have a real interest in being involved where Twyla was. Maybe I can take this program over. And so you and I started connecting with some other folks, Jordan at Peaceful Minds. Twyla, crazy enough, a year before had got her going with New Mind.
Yep.
They both switched from Clear Mind to New Mind at the same time. Or she helped them maneuver over to New Mind, and she was involved with Jordan a little bit. And so when I had met Jordan through Twyla, and when Twyla passed, I went down and talked to Jordan, and I said, man, I just bought all this new equipment, which was pretty pricey, and the person that was going to drive our program was no longer with us. And I said, I've got a guy that's interested. Would you step in and help us get up to speed? And I can't say enough about Jordan down at down at Peaceful Minds here, 2 miles south of us. And she's just been a hero for me to come in here and get us trained up. So there's so much that ties to brain mapping. I believe this is one of the pushes that you and I are in the middle of. What does identifying it with brain mapping, working on it, I'm not going to say the treat word because we're not treating.
That's right.
But we are going to provide therapy. I can use that T word.
And holistic options.
Yeah, it'll be therapy using the photobiomodulation helmet. That's one component. And then doing what we refer to as targeted neurofeedback instead of what I've always done is non-targeted. It didn't require, I mean, it's taking your brain to the gym. It didn't require me to have a degree in mental health to target a part of the brain. We took the brain to the gym. And so now we're stepping up, going to the next level with neurofeedback where it's targeted using the new mind. And more importantly, I've got a meeting today at 3 o'clock. It's real possible we're going to get pulled into a study in North Dakota. We're going to get pulled into a study where we use this imaging, this brain map imaging, to track progress in PTSD for our veteran community that we're working with. Currently, they use what's called SPEC imaging is common, where they're doing a study and they're trying to look at how effective hyperbarics, primarily hyperbaric oxygen, how effective hyperbaric oxygen is to enhance cognitive state. And there's a doctor that wants to use the brain mapping as an image. And so that's where we were headed with Twyla. You've stepped in. I'm so excited that we're going to be able to go down that path. And I really think that Lyme is going to be not only Lyme, but there's, dementia, Alzheimer's, all of those are going to be part of this brain mapping, and our synergistic nutrition, supplementation, hyperbarics, photobiomodulation, neurofeedback, targeted and non-targeted, all of these things can be tracked with the new mind.
That's right.
And so you've stepped into that, and I think it's again, when you think God slammed a door shut, all these other doors opened up.
Right.
And I'm so excited about going down this path with you. So anyway, after we talked about that, now that I've kind of given a little understanding of where we're headed, let's talk about your new position here and what you're going to be doing.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And for those of you following at home, I would say Paul just unpacked something we could talk for a whole nother podcast on. And I think we'll get a chance to do that and break some of that down. But as Paul mentioned, my background's in psychology. And I've always used, a lot of people think psychology is just mental health, but there's a research and statistic element to it. So I use what I learned on that research component to address my own health issues when I couldn't get answers from the medical community. So the reality is I've got about 15 years worth of research of studying cognitive decline, because Paul, the very first symptom I had when I was 38, just about a year before my accident, I noticed my brain was just not working. It's what we call today brain fog, but we didn't even have that term 15 years ago. Today, everybody has brain fog issues, but 15 years ago, nobody talked about it. So I actually researched fasting, and I did a master cleanse 10-day fast, and it reset my brain. And I was like, there's something to this. Mm-hmm. So that was where my journey started in addressing cognitive health. And I don't think my story is about Lyme disease per se. It's about all the symptoms I've been able to overcome. I love sharing people that there's hope for healing. Our body is designed to heal itself. If we give it the right elements or components or nutrition or supplements, whatever you want to call it. If we put the right thing in our body will heal itself. We know that because when we cut our skin, what happens? It instantly starts healing ourself. That same principle applies with brain health, and I've seen it time and time again in my journey. Because my journey's not been linear. It's been up and down and all around, but I've always been able to go back and address that and find cognitive improvement. Guys, the one thing I can tell you, if you saw me back in November, I was non-functioning. I felt brain dead. I felt like a zombie. I never could have had a clear conversation with you guys like I did today. So that is proof that this healing journey I'm a part of, cognitive improvement is possible. So essentially what Paul's referring to is we decided we wanted to flip the script. So many people in here in the chamber and in life and in our cognitive decline, we wanted to focus on cognitive improvement. So the protocol we're putting together and actively working on with some of our clients, I've called cognitive incline support. Hyperbarics is one piece, brain mapping is one piece. There's a number of different things that we can throw at this, but we are truly starting to move the needle here with this protocol to improve cognitive incline and cognitive, brain healing.
There's just so many components, just like the yogurt. I mean, people don't know anything about Supergut, the book Supergut. The gut and the brain are connected. And everybody that I've met since I've understood Supergut, and I've started doing yogurt myself, and probably 50% of our clients do yogurt now because they know how beneficial it is to not go there, to not have that decline. So, I mean, that's cheap. You're making your own yogurt. And once you understand what that's all about, it's so simple to do, and it's so beneficial, and it's not $100 bottle of medication each month that doesn't do anything. I mean, that may cover the symptoms, but it's not changing the trajectory. I want to change the trajectory. Once you start L. reuteri, the microbe L. reuteri, which is really a foundational starting point with Supergut, then you can identify those other problems, and you can add the other microbes to that same batch of yogurt you're making every week. And I'm still on L. reuteri. I'm anxious to start getting into these other microbes that antibiotics killed. I mean, that's why I don't have them anymore, is because I have done antibiotics.
That's right.
So anyway, it just all ties together. There's a lot of things that are very inexpensive to do. I tell everybody, the biggest free thing you can do is get your lazy butt out of bed, go outside when the sun's coming up, and watch that sun come up for the first 15 minutes while you're standing in the grass and grounding, and you're doing breath work.
That's right.
All of that is free. All of that God gave us. We just have to know to take advantage of it.
And all of that is essential to our health, and we've missed that marker. That marker's been lost. But the one thing I can say about what Paul is sharing is gut health is so essential. We know this. We know that gut health affects brain health, but few of us truly understand just how critical it is, and it's because our gut is attached to our brain through the vagus nerve. And so basically, people like to say our gut is our first brain, because anything that happens here is going to affect here. So 15 years ago, when I began my research, that was the first thing I realized, is if you want to heal anything in your body, the first thing you have to do is get your gut right. If your gut's not right, it's going to affect every part of your body and your brain. So I began healing my gut. And Paul, when I first started, I thought, I'm going to heal my gut and I'll be fine. No, it's been an up and down journey. You just don't stop healing your gut, especially with all the toxic exposure we have these days. But one of my favorite things about cognitive incline and brain health is just by talking to people up here about gut health. I picked up a nickname. Did you hear my nickname, Paul?
Yeah, I heard it.
They actually called me the Gut Guru, and it's one of my personal favorite nicknames anybody's ever thrown at me. I would love to be that.
A lot better than the one I throw at you.
He's got a few he throws at me, guys. But gut health is essential, and there's so many different things that will benefit gut health, and thus physical energy, brain health, everything in our physical bodies. So
ever since I learned about Supergut, which was taught to me by Josh up in Tulsa, Josh Fate, he came in and he kept asking me if I've heard of this book, Supergut. I said no, so I bought it, and it sat on my desk for probably 6 months. And then I saw an interview with Dr. William Davis and Dr. Berg. And I watched this 20-minute interview, and I'm like, wow, I had no idea that's what we were talking about. So I started making the yogurt, and I told it's just crazy what it can do. And there's so many inexpensive ways. Just like in the morning, I do butter, bulletproof coffee.
That's great.
And, all that is adding coconut oil and good butter, past their organic, there's another component there. No, it's just organic butter, pasture raised. I can't remember.
Okay.
But anyway, it's the good butter that I get
right.
at Costco.
Yep.
But put a pat of butter and the same amount of coconut oil, and I switched over to mushroom coffee. So mushroom coffee's got so many beneficial
Does.
polyphenols in it.
Yep.
And then I had to learn how to do it right. I thought I was doing everything right, and I saw another one. This is how you do it right, and that is blending it. So, you know, like with the, what do you call them, the coffee deals that mix up the cream? So when you
That
blend
thing.
it and it connects to the fat molecule, to the polyphenols, that's what makes it more bioavailable in your body.
Yep.
So there's so many little things that are so beneficial.
And Paul, what I would say to that is there's so many, we could have an hour-long conversation to just unpack what Paul said. 15 years worth of research. Paul is spot on. I came to the same reality without ever knowing this guy until recently. For those of you wondering at home, or for those of you doubting, the one thing I can tell you is everything Paul just said is completely accurate in my gut healing story. And the most powerful testimony that I can share about that is when I healed my gut, I began to heal my body and brain. At one point, they wanted to diagnose me with major depression disorder, PTSD, anxiety, and a number of different other things. When I healed my gut and I put the right nutrition in, all that went away. So I share with people openly, I healed my own body of things that people say we can't be healed from. PTSD, mental health issues was one of them. But there's things like MCAS, mast cell activation syndrome, Lyme disease. There's so many brainwashed theories out there that our body cannot heal itself, or there's no cure. We can't treat that. All we can do is manage the symptoms. And all I can tell you is I am living proof that so many of those symptoms I have healed my body from and moved past. So it is possible. So if you're struggling at home, just know there's hope for healing. You put the right things in, your body is designed to heal itself. And in my opinion, there is no condition that if we address it in the right manner that we cannot heal from.
One of the paths that we're headed down, that we're doing so much study in ourselves, and Jesse, our peptide guy, is there's a lot of studies being done with dementia and Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. All of those are again, gut, brain connected.
Right.
So what can we improve with all the other things we're doing around here, and then adding peptides?
Yeah.
And more importantly, how do we track that? And it's the brain mapping is such a awesome tool. It's not, when we talked about SPEC imaging a minute ago, that's a nuclear MRI. That's an MRI with contrast. And if we're having cognitive issues, why would we want to put contrast in our brain to see typically what the SPEC image sees? All it sees is blood flow. That's why you put the contrast in. Well, it's not blood flow I'm after. It's brainwave activity. It's
right.
It's all the alpha, beta, theta, delta. It's all the brainwave activity. And why is our brain imbalanced? Did we have a concussion right here? Because if we did, that's what shows up on brain mapping. You can see that part of the brain is in deficit.
Right.
So when we program the helmet that has 4 different regions in it, when we program the helmet, we make it more intense where that injury is, and we turn it down on the rest of the brain, because what's important is brain balance. So if you're going to hit that one spot with a lot of energy, you turn down the energy on the rest of it until it comes more in balance. And then doing brain mapping, you constantly are able to monitor and change the program.
Right.
And, you know, was it Einstein, Tesla, Rife, all 3 of them were hung up on the future of medicine is energy, vibration, and
Frequency.
frequency. There you go. I need to get in the chamber. But anyway, so all of that is just, it's all coming together. We have a way to monitor it, to measure it, and to see. I'm just like the helmet, the photobiomodulation helmet. It's expensive. I mean, it's $500 to do a brain map. And I'm just giving some rough numbers here. We put little packages together. But if you do the brain maps, $500. Do the MOCA test. That's another benchmark that we can see improvement.
That's right.
We charge $50. The helmet is $3,400, and that's program plus tax. So that's $3,400 plus tax. And every time somebody hears that, I go, hey, here's the deal. That used to be an 80% you had 90 days to use the helmet. And if it didn't change your life, if you didn't think that it was worth it, after 90 days, you could get your 80% of your money back. Well, they changed that to 100% of your money back because nobody's turning the helmets back in. So they went ahead and went out there, and in the U.S., you get 100% of your money back in 90 days if you don't think it's moving the needle. I've sold 34 helmets now, something like that, and not one of them's come back. 2 people said, "Hey, Paul, I'm going to turn the helmet back in." And I said, "Hey, just go off of it for a week. I don't want you to turn it in and then you decide you wish you'd have kept it. So turn it off for a week." Well, one of them in that first week, 2 days later, they called back and said, "I'm keeping the helmet." I mean, it was already that noticeable. The other person, Twyla did a brain scan, a follow-up brain scan, and their MoCA score had gone up 4 points, I think 4 points, and it was quite measurable on the helmet that there is a change. More importantly, they weren't going downhill any longer. We arrested it and went the other direction. And when they saw that data, they said, "Well, I'm going to keep the helmet." And that was about a year ago. So there's so many tools out there. You're not going to see any of this. None of this there's not a code for that. You can't go to your doctor. He can't prescribe it because there's not a code for that. But all the people that I'm seeing that are, have gone down the road from their doctor, that we have positive results, that speaks for itself. And you can talk to those people when you're in here.
Even I got to dive the other day in the chamber with an MD, and we spoke the same language. It was so refreshing to hear her acknowledge some of the things that I believe without me having to share them. So we have a community here with a common mindset that's just, it's been amazing. But the one thing I would say in response to what Paul's saying is he and I both love what Keith says: assess, don't guess. Brain mapping gives us that ability to assess brain health before you do any of these therapies Paul mentioned. So we can assess it on the front end. We can make several recommendations. We've got a place here under one roof where you can get all these different treatments he referred to.
You said therapies.
Therapies, that's right.
we
don't do treatments.
We are a dive shop. This chamber, there's only a couple of us in the U.S. that are doing hyperbaric air. The study I alluded to a minute ago, they're pulling us into, we're going to be head-to-head against hyperbaric oxygen. So they're doing brain mapping as a guide, as a visual, as an image, and they're doing this with hyperbaric oxygen. And when I was talking to my friend, Dr. Bieberdorf, who's an optometrist up in North Dakota, he's the one that got me on the right eye back in 2018. And that's something that I've used as a progress report for all of my clients ever since 2018. So I was talking to him, and he started describing this study that's getting ready to start with hyperbaric oxygen. And the whole time he's telling me about it, I knew I hoped where it was going. He said, "Paul, do you want in on that study?" And I said, "To go head-to-head against hyperbaric oxygen, absolutely." And it's a great opportunity for us. I think we're being pulled in, and there won't be a cost. I don't know yet. We're trying to nail down the details. But it's something that understand, guys, the pharmaceutical industry is never going to study hyperbaric oxygen. They're darn sure not going to study hyperbaric air because it's totally outside of the medical industry. And
or red light therapy.
They're never going to spend the money doing studies on it. So for me to be pulled into this and have everything under one roof, that I can measure those results and be engaged, is just awesome. I mean, it's just a great opportunity.
It's definitely been an answered prayer for me personally, and I know a number of other people in here feel that same way. But what Paul's referring to, when we talk about assess, don't guess, we have the right tools all here under one roof where we can get a pre and a post snapshot to really start moving that needle when it comes to cognitive incline. So that is very exciting for us to just be able to have these conversations and provide tools for people to come in here and do their own therapy. I can say I did my own therapy, and that's what it's like being up here part of this community.
Yep. Well, thank you again, and thank all of you that are tuned in. I'm Paul with Hyperbaric.plus, and that's also my email. And Tony's is Tony at hyperbaric.plus. So if ever you need to reach out to us, send us an email. Info at hyperbaric.plus is our. If you don't know who you want to talk to, you can send a note to that email address. Ryan is always behind the camera, taking care of trying to keep us on track.
Ryan's the man.
Yeah, we are coming up on, been here about an hour, so we're going to wrap it up. And I just want to say, Tony, thank you for everything that has already happened, and I'm really looking forward to where we can take this program. And again, thought a door had slammed shut, and actually it opened up several other ones. So
Amen to that.
anxious to get down on the road.
One thing I would say is thank you, Paul. Thank you to everybody up here at Hyperbarics Plus. Just come talk to us. When you come up here and talk to us, you'll hear countless testimonials about how we're really helping people in their health journey. So we look forward to talking to you more.
That's another thing that Ryan's working on, is getting my clients that have crazy stories. You hear all the stories. And
There's so many of them.
And people think I'm not right, but those people, I'll get them on camera, and they tell the same story I've been telling. It's pretty neat.
There's power in those testimonials and the health journey people have been on.
So we can get on to Ryan for, hey, dude, you need to get those testimonials done. And then he puts it back on me. Well, hey, we are done. Thanks for tuning in. Keith, I hope your wife gets well quick. I know that she was excited about getting this behind her, and look forward to seeing you, I hope, next week. If not, let us know. But we will be here next week and have another topic to dwell on. Thank you all. Thanks again, Tony.
You're welcome.
There we go.